We will now continue to part 2 of this presentation. It is also important to keep checklists for documentation purposes during a site inspection. These should be filled out by you on site and might require reference materials for accurate documentation. Record things such as turf species, pests, soil information, microclimates, and mowing patterns. We've made one checklist available to you as part of the readings for this module. It can also be found at the link on the slide. This checklist was created by Dr. Aaron Patton, a weed scientist at Purdue University. There are numerous reference materials available for turfgrass diseases, insects, and weeds if you are interested in learning more on this topic beyond what is covered in this module. The examples here are a few of our favorites, which include the Compendium of Turfgrass Diseases, the Handbook of Turfgrass Insect Pests, and Weeds of the North Central United States. For the remainder of this lecture, we will discuss the 7-step process for diagnosing turfgrass problems on roadsides. The first step in diagnosing any problem is to determine which turfgrass species is affected. Many pests have specific host species. For example, in the left half of this image, we see fine fescues being damaged by the summer patch pathogen, and the adjacent creeping bentgrass is unaffected. Another reason it's particularly important to identify the grass species is because many weedy grasses are often misdiagnosed as turfgrass diseases, a good example being rough bluegrass. There are numerous turf structures that can be used to aid in identifying grasses, such as the leaf tip, the vernation, which means rolled or folded in the shoot, ligules, auricles, and seed heads. Seed heads will ultimately be the best way to identify specific species, but often these are not present in a mowed roadside setting. In one of the readings, we have made available to you a useful tool to identify turf grasses. This tool was created by Purdue University and can be found at the link on the top of the slide and your readings listed for this module. This image shows an example of claw-like or clasping auricles which can be found on individual weed species such as annual ryegrass or quackgrass. This feature is a key identification characteristic for these two species. Other grasses found in Minnesota do not have claw-like auricles. Step 2 in the diagnosis process involves identifying the symptoms of the problem in question. The basic definition of a plant symptom is the visible expression of a plant's reaction, and symptoms can be separated into stand or plant symptoms, which are explained in greater detail on the next slide. Many of the issues encountered on roadsides will have specific symptoms associated with damage, such as spots, patches, irregular shapes, or abiotic-related problems. This example depicts the dollar spot fungus, which has whole stand symptoms expressed in the form of spots and individual plant systems as lesions on the leaf blades. If the symptoms in Step 2 do not allow for an accurate diagnosis of the abiotic or biotic problem, Step 3 involves specifically looking for signs of a particular pest. Signs refer to the direct visibility of a pathogen, insect, or animal, and can include structures such as mycelium, which is a cotton-like mass of fungal growth often apparent in the morning, spore masses, or mushrooms. Insect and animal signs will appear by witnessing the particular pest in action on site. In these pictures, we see direct signs of the rust fungus infecting perennial ryegrass. The rust-colored leaves are a direct sign of the actual pathogen, which can be seen in the microscopic image on the top right. Mycelium is a mass of fungal growth structures called hyphae. In the lower picture, we see the cotton-like mycelium. The microscopic image is that of the brown patch fungus. Step 4 involves a more thorough inspection of the site and a review of recent maintenance history. Look at the property maintenance records for a history of recent fertilizer or pesticide applications, irrigation management, seeding, and cultural practices conducted. Also consider recent weather patterns and establish a timeline of when the issues first appeared. Microclimates, such as shade and heat sinks, can also lead to specific problems. Finally, consider whether multiple grass species are affected. In the harsh environments of northern roadsides, look for soils to be the main cause of most issues occurring with turfgrass. You can determine the general soil type by conducting a basic ribbon test. For this, moisten a ball of soil and push it out between your thumb and index finger. Ribbons less than 1 inch in length indicate sands or loam-based soils. Ribbons greater than 2 inches indicate a greater percentage of clay in the soil. Assess the level of compaction and the moisture status by the use of a soil probe. We also suggest to gain a perspective of the various soil types across a property by sampling random areas with the soil. Finally, conduct a basic soil test to determine if any amendments are required. After gathering all of the information in steps 1 through 5, step number 6 involves synthesizing the information. More specifically, review your checklists and notes, and consult reference materials to identify possible causes. Also, don't be afraid to converse with your colleagues when you are stumped by a particular issue. If the exact cause of turfgrass damage has not been determined by step number 7, you will want to consider consulting a diagnostic laboratory. At the University of Minnesota Plant Disease Clinic, turf samples cost approximately $100, and with this fee, you will receive a call back in 24 hours. Be sure to follow instructions found on the Diagnostic Clinic's website for proper sampling procedures, and be sure to complete the submission form accurately to the best of your knowledge. Finally, to summarize what was covered in this lecture, be a good detective. Be sure to ask the right questions and consider all possible causes. Understand that not every issue is a disease. In fact, most are not. Look to soil or moisture issues having an impact on turfgrass health. Be sure to use scientifically based resources for making recommendations or for executing controls. Thank you for viewing Module 10 on diagnosing and managing problems. In Module 11, we will look at examples of roadside case studies leading to unsuccessful establishment or maintenance failures.